been talking a lot about cancels and no-shows and preventing these things. And, really, we're talking from the negative side, right? I like to say the negative side, the negative effect. Let's talk about increasing a positive effect, which is arrivals. And I think this is a great transition from where we've talked the last couple of weeks about preventing cancels, managing cancels, the difference and the mindset around that. So let's talk about putting into action actually more arrivals on your schedule. So people who are scheduled, who are set up to arrive, pay, and then stay. And we want to talk about the arrive part, because if they don't arrive, we don't really need to worry about pay, nor do we need to worry about stay. So let's think, there are two types of arrivals, right? And you got to be able to break this up in your metrics, right? There's first visit arrival, which is actually the most important arrival because, as I like to say, all visits are valuable, yet not all visits have the same value. Your first visit, that consult, that evaluation, the assessment, whatever you want to call it, is the single most important visit in this person's journey in your practice, right? Without the first visit, there is no second visit. Yeah, it's bigger than that. The first visit is what sets up the course of care. The first visit is really where the provider starts to build this therapeutic alliance that was started even before they arrived in on what I like to call the team alliance. So we talk about this provider, we talk about arrivals, we look at the providers, but I'm going to tell you this first visit success is actually amplified and multiplied and increased by right? The number one tool on your team, that's really nice. The number one team member on your team, I was going to say tool within the system, but whatever. The number one team member is your front desk team. Your front desk team has the largest impact on arrivals in your business, whether it's first visit arrival or follow-ups. Your front desk team has the biggest impact on arrivals in your team, greater than your providers, greater than anybody else. And I told you I have the data to prove this. And the data to prove this is just flat out cancel rates and first visit arrival rates, right? First visit arrival is set up by your provider, right? Oh my God, just send that back. First visit arrival is set up by your front desk team. And I've been on calls this week with multiple clinics with first visit arrival problems. And by the way, these are clinics with in-network contracts. So these are fully contracted clinics with first visit arrival problems. And then, as would be expected, downstream arrivals are an issue also. Yet, if you get someone to show up, if you guys have heard me talk, and the reason this front desk team member is so vital and so important, and the reason the impact and the ROI is greatest with them is because if you are managing this process properly, if you understand the value of your front desk team member and where they fit in this patient's journey within your business, then they will create what I call this tilting of the playing field, and everything that happens from the moment after they hang up the phone will deliver a greater result. First visit arrivals will go up, drop-offs will go down, no-shows will go down, cancels will go down. By the way, the front desk team member managed the pre-arrival process, right? And I've got data to prove this. I've worked with front desk teams only in clinics, pre-arrival process, right? There was no, after clarifying with the owners, there were no changes in downstream systems or processes or the way they were managing patients. Yet I've seen arrival rate, first visit arrival rate increase 20, 30%. I've seen downstream cancels drop by 50% because of managing the pre-arrival process differently. So again, the number one person, the number one team member, and the biggest ROI on your whole team is your front desk team member. And again, if we look at this as an ecosystem, as we look at this as a journey that someone's on, we realize that the work we do upstream, the work we do earlier, pays us a far greater return later on. That is why you cannot You cannot achieve the ROI of a good, trained, hired and trained front desk person. You cannot return that ROI with anything else in your business. Hello, Anthony. Thanks for coming. You cannot achieve that. You cannot create a product. You cannot create a service. You cannot add more things. Right? You can't hire new people that will return the ROI of a front desk team member that has been properly hired, properly trained, and properly understands their role in patient success in your business. It cannot be returned anywhere else. Simple enough. And ROI is money invested, money returned. It's that differential, right? Is the ROI, right? So if for every dollar you spend, you make $2, that's a 50%, right? Yeah, I wouldn't say 100%, right? No, we could go either way, right? You could say if I spend $1 and get $1 back, that's 100% ROI. But I'm going to call that basically break even. I'm going to call that zero, right? So I'm going to look at the multiple on that, a 2 times ROI, a 3 times ROI, right? For every dollar I spend, do I get $2, $3, $4, $5 back? What is the multiple on that ROI? Where a multiple of spending $1 and getting $1 back is, right? It's a multiple of 1. You cannot get a bigger ROI on money spent than your front desk team member who's been properly hired, trained, and onboarded to a system that they understand their role in success. And I'm telling you, the downstream effects are insane. And when I first started getting those effects downstream, I refused to believe it was from the work being done at the front desk. I can tell you about this whole journey some other day, but I saw the impact of changing the incoming call process and changing the pre-arrival systems, and just to deliver, manage, and set on expectations. Nothing magical there. There is no magic. There is no secret, right? It's all simple blueprint. Successful businesses do this every single day. Yet when I started to see the cancels, the drop-offs, the no-shows later downstream, after someone had already been here and arrived and been with their provider, and all of that changed, even though we did nothing different with the providers still managed their evals and their courses of care the same. Only one thing had changed: the intake process. People that were arriving were prepared to arrive, pay, and stay. Their expectations had been managed and set. They knew their cost, right? They knew why their expert they were scheduled with was the right person. They knew what to expect within their hour, that first visit with that provider. They also knew what the deliverable was, this discussion about a plan of care, which was going to be their journey back to their desired outcomes, their problem solved. We all know that's different for everybody. That's cool. That's why it's easy to put together a pre-arrival sales process. Right? The consistency is the consistency of what you will deliver. The consistency is understanding who you can serve best and making sure they understand that you are the best for them, and you sell them on the value of coming to see you, and then you let them make a choice if you are the best place for them. And if we go through this process and we get through this conversation and you say, yes, I understand what I'll get. Yes, I understand why I'm coming. Yes, I understand my cost or my share. And they say yes. And guess what? The likelihood of first visit arrival goes up. The likelihood of a drop off goes down through their course of care. Part of that selling what they'll get, the value, is they know what they'll get at the eval and even after, or the deliverable of the eval. So this is what's interesting. Drop offs decrease after improving your pre-arrival process, and drop offs at visit 1, 2, 3 decreased. Think about that for a second. Someone's in for multiple visits, and you're saying it's the provider, as I did for multiple years, but it wasn't. It was a combination of these things. I'm not saying one is more important than the other. I'm just telling you where the ROI is and where the impact is to be made in your business to improve arrivals. If you bring this consistency to the front desk team, if you understand this process and you bring this consistency to the front desk team, then you don't have all this instability around scheduling, around cancels, around empty slots, around capacity, right? Percent capacity. You don't have, because what comes with that next is what? Instability of revenue. So I'm telling you, the ROI on this, even if you want to go downstream, the ROI then becomes off the charts. And again, when I did this, I stumbled into it and I did my own RCT, my own research project. Nothing changed anywhere else in my business. Same providers, same everybody. Change in the upstream conversation. And again, we saw all these downstream effects in the ROI as we look at less drop-offs, less cancel, more completed courses of care. So, right, someone doesn't drop off at visit 3 and they complete another 6. I'm like, that started upstream, and that ROI gets attached to the pre-arrival process, those 6 more visits. Because the provider was already delivering this and people were dropping off. It wasn't so much on them, it was people didn't really know. And I broke this down. I used to call all my drop-offs. I used to call every single one of them. Now, you and I both know not everybody answered, so I don't claim that everybody spoke to me. But of the ones who did, I got some clarity around why the front desk was the solution here. And it came down to one word: expectation. So they showed up. They weren't exactly sure. They weren't exactly sure what they were hearing, right? And it didn't quite line up. They wanted to give it another chance. And visit 2, they drop off. Visit 3, they drop off. I found when we managed and set expectations better before arrival and gave those expectations to the providers, our drop-offs disappeared. Our no-shows were non-existent. They really were. Right. Nothing ever gets to 0, but I think you should strive to get no-shows as close to 0 as possible. We definitely did. And our drop-offs decreased immensely and arrivals went up. Right. And we can talk about all this stuff, right? Our cancel, think about this for a second. I'm going to say our cancel rate went down. But what I'm telling you is our cancel calls went down. So real solutions to problems. We weren't managing cancels. Let's go back to what I've been talking about. We weren't managing cancels. We were preventing cancels by managing and setting expectations better, by making sure people understood the value of what they would receive and what it costs for them to get that, right? And really selling that first visit and that time with the expert and the deliverables there and this course of care. And then the PTs would just deliver it. That's all. They were doing the work they had always been doing. I was yelling at my PTs for 10 years. Stop the drop-offs, get rid of these cancels. What's up with your no-shows? When I finally started to figure a lot of this out and we did the work upstream, guess what? All those things dropped immensely. So what I get to do, go back to my providers and just go keep doing the same great work. Right? And this whole understanding of this pre-arrival process and the role that the front desk team played on all these things then allowed me to better manage my provider team. It also allowed me to better solve problems more quickly, right? Because looking at cancels or drop-offs, I knew to go back upstream first. And they're never going to hit 0. So you just want to make sure the process is being followed. Probably 90% of the time, it's just a check on the process. Is process being followed? Yeah, it was. Okay, is what it is. No. Where did the process get dropped? Right? And then going back to your process and going, oh, look here, it was a one-time thing. Just a reminder. Hey, wait a minute, this has not been, people, when did we stop doing this part of the process? Hey, everybody, we got to refocus on this part of the process again. And boom, we're good. So your front desk team and team members are the biggest ROI in your business in this patient's journey. They start every patient's journey. They set and manage expectations. They set the providers up for success. They sell value. They make sure everybody understands the value of what they will receive from doing business with you. And when people say, no, I don't want that at that price, I tell my front desk, great job for not putting someone on the schedule who's going to no-show or drop off. So this is how we get away from that schedule mentality. It was never about schedule. It's about putting people on the schedule who are prepared to arrive, pay, and stay. Your well-hired, well-trained, well-onboarded front desk person who understands their role in patient success within your business will make your patients more successful, which will in turn make your business more successful, which will then increase personal success for everybody in the business, including you, the owner, the clinic manager, the provider, everybody. And goddamn, it's going to make everybody's life easier when people on the schedule show up. I mean, come on. So your front desk is the number one asset in this process. Hiring them, training them, onboarding them has to have as much time, energy, and money as hiring anybody else in the business. Getting them trained up. Again, what I found downstream was the providers were doing the right things, and yet we're blaming them. So you tell me where you should be spending more of your time, money, and energy right now. It's probably not the provider side where a lot of people complain and they don't want to do this and they don't want to do that. And I would argue we're creating that burnout because we're not putting people in place who are ready to arrive and then pay and then stay for that provider. So creating that patient and provider success is a huge objective of the pre-arrival process, of which your front desk team owns. Again, run the numbers, man. Drop your cancel rate by 50% and look at what you're paying your front desk and think about if I got my front desk trained up at that dollar amount per hour, how much more they're generating me per hour, per day, per month, per year. Nobody else in the business can return that ROI. Nobody. Your front desk is the key to success here. They're the entry point to the business. They're their first point of contact. They set and manage all the expectations. They set everything up for success downstream. By the way, my billing problems disappeared. When we realized what the billing problems were, they were a communication problem. Changed that, made sure the financial policy aligned with that, made sure my front desk at arrival were showing people the conversation, making sure they understood all that financial stuff was huge. That was all front desk process. Again, less billing problems, less negative reviews, less people canceling and dropping off because of billing issues. Now, I'm not saying billing issues with the insurance company didn't continue. Think about that for a second. What I'm saying is the patients coming into my business knew what they were responsible and what we were responsible for. And then they knew, because we told them, what their insurance company was responsible for. So we rarely had people coming back and blaming us for things that weren't our fault, because we did a better job communicating, setting and managing expectations upstream around billing. I'm telling you, every minute I speak here is just presenting to you greater value, greater ROI that your front desk team plays in overall business arrival. First visit, by the way, if you're averaging $100 a visit and you see people, I'm going to do easy math here, so yeah, I'm just making numbers up. If you collect $100 a visit, you see people for 10 visits, that's $1,000 for a course of care. When your front desk team picks up the phone and hears, "Hi, my name's Jerry, I want to schedule a new patient evaluation or visit," your front desk team is managing a $1,000 call. We have to look at it like that. They're not managing a $100 visit. That first visit is not worth $100. That first visit is worth $1,000. They're managing a $1,000 call. How much time, energy, and money have you put into hiring, training, onboarding, and having that person ready to have a $1,000 conversation with people? All right. So this front desk team member, your front end, your first point of contact, what I call the voice of the company, right? Because most people, we're either calling them or they're calling us. I call them the voice of the company. Owning this pre-arrival process, initial contact, all the way to arrival in the clinic, is the most valuable asset you have in your company. They will return a greater ROI than anybody else in the business. Everybody else downstream is delivering, but they're delivering based on a better prepared person. It's not a different person, better prepared person sitting in front of them, which creates greater downstream impact, all started where? Pre-arrival process with your front desk, right? It's time to start spending the money and the time and the energy to get your front desk trained up. Cool. Appreciate it. Obviously, I went a little longer this time. This is the stuff I love, man. It's not just about managing cancels. It's understanding this role of the front desk, and all the rest of this stuff will take care of itself. I promise. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you taking the time to go through this. Feel free to comment. Feel free to reach out. Always happy to have a conversation around this front desk, right? Rockstar team. No bigger ROI. Cheers.